Welcome back to the shop, guys. I have here a 2018 KTM 150 SX, and check this out. It is locked. Kickstarter won't go down. Don't know what's wrong with it. We're gonna pull the top end, see what we got. Fingers crossed it's just maybe like a cracked piston, locked up the crank or whatever, and we don't have to get in the bottom end, but we won't know until we open it up. So let's get started. But before we do, just to inform you, this KTM 150 is pretty much a KTM 125 with the bigger piston in it. So if you have a 125 and you're kind of using this as a tutorial or whatever, it's the same thing. But let me go ahead and start by getting the seat and the tank off, and then we'll go from there. Alright, got the seat and tank off. Hopefully you know how to do that if you own one of these bikes at the least. Alright, let me go ahead and get the coolant out. Let's see here. Should be this one. Yep. It's easy to tell on the water pump. There'll be a brass washer under one of the bolts that hold the water pump on, and that's usually on any bike. That's usually the bolt that is the drain bolt. Take that out. You're going to want to take the cap off the radiator cap too. Okay, all right, there you go, so it can flow out freely. And I'm just going to collect that. But yeah, the bike locked up. This bike belongs to Carlos, and he let his son ride it. His son's a pretty fast rider and rides hard, and what I heard is he got like one lap in and it just locked up. So we'll get in there and see what it is. We're hoping it's not a crankshaft. Let me get the last little bit. We're hoping it's not a crankshaft, because the cranks on these KTMs are sometimes expensive and sometimes even difficult to find. A lot of times they're on back order and stuff like that, so, and they typically don't make a hot rods crank for some of these KTMs, so we're hoping the crank's in good shape and it's just the something top end related, but we won't know until we get it apart. You know what, let me go ahead and take off this bolt for the pipe right here too. Just get that off of there, and then I'll take that one off there, remove the pipe springs, and pull the pipe off. Alright, let me go and get these pipes off. Let me use this pipe spring puller here. If you don't have one of these, alright, there. Woo! If you don't have one of these, you can use a pair of vice grips even and just grab the spring and tuck it and pull it off. Let me get the other side here. Be careful with these though, they're pointy, and that pointy end's pointed at you, so sometimes if it slips, it hits your hand. Just be careful. Pipe springs off here. There we go. Let's go and slide the pipe off. Get that out of our way. I'm going to look up in the pipe, see if I see anything. I don't see anything suspicious yet. Just kind of curious, kind of trying to get an idea of what happened in here ahead of time before I even get the cylinder off. But let me go, actually, let me remove the spark plug. Sometimes that will let you know. If the rod bearing, the lower rod bearing came apart, you're going to find dings and stuff on the spark plug. Let me pull that off real quick. Pop this spark plug off, see what we got. I'm just going to use an adjustable wrench, open up all the way. They usually do the trick. Like I said, if the lower rod bearing's coming apart or came apart, you're going to see dings and stuff on the spark plug, and that's going to let you know right there you got trouble. I don't see anything. It looks good, so that's a good sign so far, but let's keep digging in. I guess the next thing I'll do is go ahead and remove these two motor mounts right here. These use this T45, so you're going to want to have one of these to it's a Torx to fit that. Let me go remove it. Alright, I have them motor mounts off. Let me go get this water hose off and out of the way. Actually, I'm going to have to get the one in the middle off and out of the way too, I believe. And these things can be a little stubborn. They can be stuck on there. You gotta give them a twist first. There we go. I'm gonna remove this one completely out of there. That way it's out of the way. You know, the beauty of these two strokes is they're so easy to work on versus like the modern day four strokes. You can have these things apart in no time flat. I've always loved two strokes. I know they're becoming popular lately again, and they're gaining respect at local tracks again. But there was a time about 10 years ago that people were hating on them and dogging them. A lot of people were. And I didn't understand that because I still loved them. Matter of fact, I own a 450, a 250 two-stroke, and a 125 two-stroke. And I honestly don't remember how long it's been since I rode that 450. Two-strokes are fun. And let me pull the hose off on this side now so I can remove it all together. But yeah, I have a choice every weekend of which one I'm going to take out, and I just seem to favor the two-strokes anymore. So they're easy to work on, but that's not why. I like the sound, the feel, they're lighter weight, and you know, I ride for fun anymore. Yes, I race from time to time, but I ride for fun anymore, and they're just funner. And I honestly think they make you a better rider. You're a little more involved. Alright, let me see if I can get... Now I'm going to need a flathead to get that off. And if you watch enough of my videos, you'll see how I actually believe two-strokes are even safer than four-strokes. I cover that in a lot of my videos. Got to get this cover off and the cover off on the other side now. Oh, there's some dirt in here, though. Get that out. Don't want to strip them out. Alright, I'm going to loosen this up real quick. Oh, they were actually not on there too tight. Let me pull these out. Alright, pull this cover off. Just kind of slide it back. And we have to disconnect the power valve rod. The power valve rod on these bikes has a clip, and you don't want to drop the clip in that hole because then you're going to have to remove the whole clutch cover to get it back, most likely. So keep your fingers on it pretty good as you pull it around like, oh man, I don't want to drop it. There we go. And I'm going to grab it with the needle nose here so I don't drop it. Spin around here, slide it down and out, and there it is. So we got that off the clip. Now we just have to disconnect it. I'll just stick this right behind here. Alright, now I can retain the gasket. So that's disconnected. Let's go to the other side and remove that cover. It's the same thing over here, just removing this cover. Let's see. Oh, they're not tight at all. Okay. Well, that's good. Oops, drop that. Okay, it looks like this takes a 12mm to 4-cylinder bolts here. So let me grab a 12mm wrench. Yes, it is indeed a 12. Remove the two on this side, and I'll go to the other side and remove them. Alright, now remove the two on this side. We're about to pull that cylinder off and see what is going on in here. That's going to be good. Real curious of what we're going to have to do to get this thing up and going again. Again, I'm just hoping it's just the piston or something stupid like that, not the actual crank. Alright, them are off. Let's go ahead and pull her up and out of there. Well, the cylinder's coming off, so that's always a good sign. Huh. Guess what? Looks like the crank is good. The piston won't come out of the cylinder. Alright, let me push it back down, if we can. Okay, so what we have is a piston that is stuck in that cylinder. Oh boy. Let me go ahead and remove the cylinder head and see what we got. Yeah, it's going to be interesting now. Because I don't see this very often where that happens, but let's see. Well, the dome's a little dirty, but it looks good. Doesn't look beat up or anything. So, alright. I can see the cylinder has some, some flaking right there. It's almost like it ran dry of oil. That's like melted piston on the cylinder wall there. On this side too, you can see it in there. That white that you see, that's actually piston melting onto the cylinder wall. So let's see if we can get this cylinder off the piston. It was stuck, but we're gonna see what we can do. Alright, it's safe to say the piston is trashed, and the piston is not all the way at the bottom, so let me see if I can just set this socket right in the middle of the piston and tap on it with a hammer. See if I can get it to slide down the cylinder some. Oh, it's stuck. Well, it's moving slowly, but it's moving. I mean, she's moving slowly, so we'll just keep working at her. Go around the other side. Continue tapping on her here. Yeah, she's going down slowly. I just want to get on down to the bottom dead center before I try lifting the cylinder up. Get as far as I can like this first. She's struggling to go down much further. I'll keep working at it though. Let me get something else to hit it with. Alright, try this out. Yeah, she's getting a little bit further down there. Check it out. Just trying to get it as far as I can before it's time to lift the cylinder up off of it. I'll keep working at it. Alright, the piston's at bottom dead center. So, you know, when you run into this kind of stuff, you got to get creative. There's no, you're not going to find in the manual how to pull off a cylinder when the piston is stuck in the cylinder. You're just not going to find that information. This is where you're going to have to get creative. Try your best not to damage anything or scar any of the mating surfaces. That's the idea here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find something gentle, soft to place under the cylinder. What I'll do is I'll lift the cylinder up a little bit, place something underneath it so that it's not, so I can, because the crank's not going to let the piston go down any further. But if I can get the cylinder up higher like this, then I can continue tapping the piston back down the cylinder. So let me find something like plastic or something to wedge underneath that cylinder to hold it up about 1 inch, and then we'll continue tapping her down. You know what? I might not have to. I realize now that I can lift it up pretty high, I'm able to twist it, and the piston's twisting it. Here it goes. And there it is. Wow, look at that. Well, let me go ahead and pull the piston off, and we're going to take the piston to the bench and look at the cylinder and piston, and let's try to figure out what went wrong here. So I'm going to pull the circ clip off of here. Get that off. Give this thing some love taps, slide her on out of there. Wow, that thing's like almost stuck in there. Yeah, it is. Okay, what I'm going to do is take the circ clip out on the other side and see if I can push that piston pin out that way. Because you can see, if you look closely right here, you can see some of that scarring went right into here where this wrist pin wants to slide out. And it's making it difficult to come out. So let me remove the circ clip on the other side, and I'm going to try to knock the wrist pin out that way. Yeah, you can see this side of the piston, it's a lot better looking around the where the wrist pin goes in there. So let me try tapping out this direction. And sadly, you can see this piston doesn't have a lot of wear on it right here. It really wasn't that old of a piston. There we go. You just don't want to beat it hard because you're relying, you'll be beating on the crank at that point. You don't want to do that. So the idea is just love taps. I see a piece of aluminum right in there. I'm gonna have to collect that. So this was a Racer Elite piston. Let me wipe it up real fast. Take a look at her. As you can see, it didn't have a lot of usage, a lot of wear on it until that happened. Ugh, that's nasty. Wow. Oops, dropped that. What I'm hoping is it only melted piston on this cylinder and did not actually damage the nickel plating. So I'm going to have to remove this melted piston. That's all it is right there, is piston that melted. This is most likely, I'm going to guess, a cold seizure. I'm going to guess the bike wasn't properly warmed up and it was jumped on and just ridden hard. That's just a guess, assuming I don't expect him to forget oil in his gas. Plus he was riding that bike that day, I believe, and when he handed it to his son, so his son probably just didn't warm it up. And yeah, you're supposed to warm them up a little bit before you really romp on them, or it can cause what this is a cold seizure, as they call it. And that's more important on a forged piston than it is a cast piston. You have to warm them up properly when you run a forged piston. Forged pistons are stronger than the cast pistons, your stock pistons. They are stronger, the forged ones. But you have to warm them up properly. You have to get some engine temperature before you really start romping on it. That is why they come with a cast piston stock. Not only the Yamaha's 2-strokes, but also the KTM 2-strokes. They come with a cast piston stock because they assume that the average buyer is just going to buy the brand new bike and go out and not warm it up properly, and they're kind of weighing out their failures. Are they going to get more failures from cracked pistons? Stock pistons can crack easy because they're cast. They kind of weigh out that versus someone just not warming their bike up and this happening. And I think they came to the conclusion that you would have less failures overall if you just go with the cast piston for your average consumer. But if you're racing a bike and you're running it hard, you want a forged piston. You just have to warm it up properly. That's all. But these are stronger. They're far less likely to break, handle much more abuse, far better pistons. You just have to warm them up. And I think that's what happened here, is it wasn't warmed up properly. But let's see if that cylinder there is salvageable. Muriatic acid. This stuff is nasty. Make sure you use this stuff outside, well ventilated area. Do not whiff these fumes, and don't get it on you either. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go out here and I'm going to take a Q-tip and put that stuff here. I'll put a little bit right in here real quick to show you what it does before I go out there. I'll just make sure I keep a fan on my face. This stuff is so highly corrosive, you don't even want to use it in your shop. I'm doing it right here for video's sake, real fast, just to show you kind of what it does. But even the fumes, you'll see it kind of like, it has like a gassy, like a cloud that comes off of it. Even as you pour it, you'll see a little cloud whiff off of it. It will make everything in your shop surface rust. This stuff is nasty. It like, I expect anything metal in this little corner right here maybe to show a little surface rust tomorrow. That's how this stuff is. But I'm going to take a Q-tip. I'm going to dip it in here. Okay, you see the white spots? That's aluminum. When I put this on, you'll see how it foams up. You see that? See how it's foaming up? And that's how you know that there's aluminum there. And it's going to turn that aluminum dark, and it's going to start, it oxidizes it really quick. Let me put some more over here. Anywhere you see it bubble up, that means that's aluminum that melted on the cylinder wall. So what we want to do is we want to get all of that off, and then see how the nickel plating fared out. See if it's in good shape underneath that melted piston. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat this and let it sit on there for a little bit. I sat there with the Q-tip and just kept coating it before until it comes off. You see that little whiff coming off? You see it? I don't know if you can see that in the camera. Woo! Some got in my face. That stuff is nasty. I've sat there with a Q-tip and just worked it off like that. Just keep putting fresh on it, and eventually just burn it off, believe it or not. And it just eats it, and it doesn't hurt the nickel plating at all. It only affects the aluminum. Obviously, when you're done doing this, you want to clean the cylinder real quick and get that stuff off so it doesn't damage like the ports and stuff where it's kind of dripping in there. But and you can even help it out as by using like steel wool or whatever. You can help it out and slide some steel wool over it as it's as it's doing its thing, then put a little more on there. It takes time, or you can use a very fine wire wheel, very, very fine, and help speed it up. Sometimes you can take a flathead and even, sometimes you can take a flathead and start dragging it across it. Find the spot right here and kind of help it out. But if you got the time, you can just sit there with the Q-tip and just keep applying it. It'll eventually just kind of disappear. Let me go outside and finish this up because I want to get out of this shop and I don't need everything in here rusting and I don't need to be whiffing these fumes. So I'll be back. Here is the fine wire wheel. See how fine it is that I'll be using. I'll just keep dabbing that muriatic acid on with the Q-tip, and then every so often just hit it with this to kind of help scrape it off quicker, and that does the trick. Well, so I think we're going to need a new cylinder after all. I was able to remove all, I don't know if you can see in there or not with the light, I was able to remove all of the aluminum from melted piston, but right there, you see, can you see in the camera? Hold on. Yeah, there you go. See that spot right there, that white spot? That's actually some nickel plating that peeled off, and then right down here too. What happens is when the piston starts getting stuck like that and starts literally melting on, you can see right here, I got it all cleaned up. There's no aluminum here anymore, but right there, the white spot. What happens is when the piston starts melting, and it starts seizing onto the cylinder wall, it can actually peel the nickel plating off of the wall, and that's what happened here. So this cylinder is either going to have to be re-nickel plated, or we're just going to have to replace the cylinder. Yeah, we could put a new piston in it and it would run, but at some point this could end up continuing to peel and cause problems, so we're not going to do that. So let's go see what our options are. So I'm on Rocky Mountain's page here. The KTM, they don't sell just the cylinder. They want to sell you a piston and everything included. That kind of sucks. I guess they're assuming we're going to use the OEM piston, which we are not. Let's see. $962. Email me when available. Yeah, it's not available. Let's see if someone else has it in stock. I'm on Motorsport's site, and they don't have it in stock. It says ship from 4 to 9 days. Expected to ship 4 to 9 days. A little bit cheaper, but here's what happens. Rocky Mountain is usually pretty good at letting you know when stuff is on back order or not in stock. Where Motorsport typically is not. I love Motorsport, don't get me wrong. But what happens is you'll order this, you'll add it to your cart, you'll pay for it, and then you'll get an email stating that it is on back order. If it's on back order from Rocky Mountain, trust me, it's on unless Motorsport has it in stock, it's on back order on Motorsport as well. We also have the option of sending the cylinder out to MotoSeal, and for $243, I'm assuming that's not including tax, they will re-nickel plate the cylinder for us. Obviously, you have to pay for shipping going there and coming back. Expect about $300, I would imagine. I called them up and they said it's about a 6-week turnaround time right now. We don't want to wait for that. So I went to Fleabay for $550 plus tax. We got this nice cylinder here. The seller says it is just re-nickel plated, nickel sealed, and has never been used. So that's reasonable enough. Now it is for 2019, but I did compare the part numbers. And if we were to buy a brand new cylinder from KTM for the 2018, you see it shows the old part number down there where it says replaces part number. That was a 2018 cylinder. The number above is a 2019 cylinder. So they would mail us actually technically a 2019 cylinder for this bike, which indicates to me it will fit and it will work. But just to double check, this is a 2019 right here. I'll scroll on down. And there you go. It's the same part number as the one over here that was up top. So yeah, it's a 2019 cylinder. Obviously, email me when it's available. It's on back order. So that's a bummer, but I went ahead and ordered the eBay cylinder that's been freshly re-nickel plated for $550 plus tax. I have that on the way. I'm going to go ahead and order another Wiseco race piston for it. get the right size thickness gasket. Remember, they sell like 7 different sizes on these gaskets here, so you got to make sure you get the right one. Luckily, we did have the right one. I'm just waiting for the owner of this bike to give me the part number for it. I gave him the bag of the, when I did the cylinder for him, the piston for him last time. I gave him the bag that the gasket came in that has a part number. I said, hold on to this, because when we go to do the topping next time, we have to get the right thickness gasket. I'll show you that in the next video. This is just part 1 of this video. Part 2 will be me putting the bike back together, taking the power valve out of this cylinder, putting in a new one, and getting her back up and running again. And I'll show you what I mean by the thickness of the gaskets if you haven't caught some of my other videos where I explain that. So I have to wait for the parts to come in. So yeah, stay tuned for part 2 on this build where we get her back up and running. And oh, by the way, before I end this video, the rod and the crank is actually in good shape. So that has fared out well. The left and right up top feels about normal. There is no up and down. So yeah, we just need a new piston and a good cylinder, and she'll be back up and running. So stay tuned for part 2. I appreciate all my subscribers. If you're not already subscribed, I would appreciate it if you do. As soon as part 2 is available, I will upload it, and I will also add a link in the description to this video. So if you're catching this video at a later date when I've already had this bike completed, the link will be down there in the description. If it's not in the description, I haven't completed yet. Give me about a week and it'll be up. So yeah, appreciate it, guys. Catch you next time.